Some stories stay with you long after they're told, not because they're the scariest, but because they really happened. Tonight, we step into the minds of those who lived through their own nightmares. Real people, real horror. Think you would have survived? Let's find out.
I never believed in haunted houses, not until I lived in one. I was 15 when my family moved into that old Victorian home at the end of Oak Hollow Road. The first night, normal. The second, almost normal. By the third night, I knew something was wrong. At night, I'd hear noises, soft shuffling steps, always stopping just before my door. But when I looked, nothing. My parents blamed old pipes, the wind, my imagination. Until the night I woke up and saw it. There was a figure standing in my doorway, a shape darker than the shadows. No face, no details, just there, watching. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. And then it moved. I slammed my eyes shut. I don't know how long I stayed like that, shaking under my blankets. But when I finally peeked, my door was closed. I told my parents. They laughed it off. The next morning, my little brother told me something that made my blood run cold. "Who was the man standing in your room last night?" After that, things got worse. The whispers in the walls started. At first, they were soft, just barely audible. But soon they became clear. Don't look, don't breathe. He's watching. Every night it got worse. Doors would slam shut on their own, objects moved, and always that feeling, like something was just behind me. One night I woke up unable to move. Sleep paralysis, I thought. But then, the whispering started, right in my ear. I could feel the breath on my skin, and then I felt hands, cold, pressing into my shoulders. I wanted to scream. I couldn't. Then my bed shifted, like something heavy had just climbed onto it. My mattress sank. The whispering turned into breathing. Ragged, slow breathing inches from my face. And then a voice, low, guttural. "You're mine now." I shot up gasping. My room was empty, but my closet door was open, wide open. I swear I had closed it before bed. The next night I heard scratching, not from the walls, not from the door, but from under my bed, a slow, deliberate scraping of nails against the wood floor. I froze, my whole body rigid with fear. Then, something giggled, a high-pitched, distorted laugh that didn't belong to anything human. One night I left a glass of water on my nightstand before bed. When I woke up, it was on the floor, spilled. But the way it had fallen, it hadn't just tipped over. It looked like it had been thrown. Another time, my brother screamed in the middle of the night. We ran to his room. He was sitting up, pale, shaking. He said he saw someone crawling on the ceiling. Not walking, crawling, backwards. We moved out a month later. The house is still there. Someone else lives in it now. I just hope they don't wake up to what I did. I loved hiking, being alone in the woods, peaceful, safe, until the day I realized I wasn't alone. I was deep in Pine Creek Trail, about 5 miles in. I had music playing in one ear, but I kept hearing something else, something rhythmic, footsteps. I stopped. So did they. I walked again. So did they. I told myself it was paranoia, but the feeling wouldn't leave. You know that primal instinct? The one that tells you when you're being watched? It was screaming at me. Then I saw it. A man, dressed in dark clothes, standing half hidden behind a tree about 30 feet away, just staring. I pretended I didn't see him and kept walking, but my heart was pounding so hard I thought he could hear it. Every time I looked back, he was there, closer, watching. I picked up my pace, a mile left to the car. Then I heard the worst sound of my life. I ran, sprinting, lungs burning, legs aching. I could hear him right behind me. I don't know how, but I made it to my car, locked the doors, grabbed my phone. No signal. I looked up. He was standing at the tree line, smiling, just smiling. Then he turned and walked back into the woods. Days later, I found muddy footprints outside my window. Bare footprints. My apartment is on the second floor. One night, I woke up to the sound of my doorknob rattling, like someone was trying to get in. I sat up, frozen. The sound stopped. But then, a knock. Not normal, just one long, slow knock. Then silence. I moved to another state, left everything behind. But sometimes on lonely roads, I swear I still see him. And I wonder, did I escape, or is he still out there, waiting for me to be alone again? I was 19 when I took my first solo trip. Just me, a car, and a cheap motel off the highway. I wanted peace. What I got was something else. I checked in late, past midnight. The guy at the front desk barely looked up when he handed me the key. Room 207. The place smelled like old carpet and bleach, but I didn't care. I was exhausted. As I turned to leave, the clerk muttered something. I almost didn't catch it. "Don't look through the keyhole." I laughed, thought it was some weird joke. I didn't ask. I just wanted to sleep. The room was fine, a little cold. The heater didn't work, but I was too tired to complain. I locked the door, shut the curtains, and crawled into bed. I woke up at 3:12 a.m. Something felt wrong. The room was darker than before, like the air itself was thicker. And then I noticed it, the shadow under my door. Someone was standing outside. I held my breath. The shadow didn't move. It just stood there, like whoever it was knew I was awake. Then, the doorknob rattled. Not aggressive, not forced, just testing it. I wanted to tell myself it was the wind, a drunk guest at the wrong door. But I knew better. I stayed still, barely breathing, until the shadow finally moved away. I should have gone back to sleep, but instead, I got up, and stupidly, I remembered what the clerk had said. Don't look through the keyhole. I don't know why I did it. Curiosity? Stupidity? Some part of me needed to see. I bent down, slowly, pressed my eye to the keyhole. At first, all I saw was red. Just deep, vivid red. Like someone had covered the other side with fabric. No movement, no shape, just red. I backed away. Something inside me whispered that I shouldn't be this close to the door, that I shouldn't even be in this room. Somehow I fell asleep. Morning came. I packed up fast, eager to leave. But as I dropped my key at the front desk, I had to ask, "Hey, what was up with my room?" The clerk paled. He didn't answer right away. Then, in a low voice, he said, "That room was cursed. Years ago, a woman was murdered there. Her husband, he lost his mind. And they say he still lingers, watching, waiting." I forced a laugh, shook my head. "Okay, but why did you tell me not to look through the keyhole?" "Because his eyes? They're completely red." A cold wave washed over me. I felt my stomach drop, my skin tighten. My mind flashed back to that moment in the dark. The deep, endless red I had seen through the keyhole. I hadn't seen fabric. I hadn't seen a curtain. I had looked straight into his eye. The realization sent a violent shiver through me. I suddenly felt watched, even in the daylight, even in the crowded motel lobby. I grabbed my bag and practically ran to my car, my hands shaking as I fumbled with the keys. The second I was inside, I locked the doors and started the engine. I didn't look back, didn't check my mirrors, didn't even breathe until I was miles away. But as the highway stretched before me, my mind wouldn't let go of one last thought. When I backed away from the keyhole, I hadn't heard footsteps, hadn't heard movement. Whoever, whatever, was on the other side of that door had never left. And worse, it had been watching me the entire time.